What if asking honest questions could get you kicked out of your own church? What if fighting for the safety of children or advocating for women's equality led to you being formally cast out in the Mormon Church? This isn't a hypothetical, it's a reality for many. Welcome to the Mormon Deep Dive channel, where we explore the history, beliefs, money, and power structures of the LDS Church, uncovering the stories they don't want you to hear. If you're ready to look beyond the surface, subscribe now because we're about to dive deep. Let's start with a name that many ex-Mormons will know: Jeremy Runnells. He was a seventh-generation Mormon, deeply invested in his faith. But as he studied church history to answer a family member's questions, he found inconsistencies he couldn't ignore. He compiled his questions into a letter for a church educational system director, hoping for answers. This document, which became known as the CES Letter, went viral. It detailed issues with the Book of Mormon's translation, the multiple versions of Joseph Smith's first vision, and other challenging parts of Mormon history. Instead of receiving answers, Jeremy faced a disciplinary council and was threatened with excommunication for apostasy. He ultimately resigned his membership before they could formally remove him. But his story highlights a pattern. Honest inquiry that contradicts the official narrative is not welcome. His case became a cornerstone for many who began to question their own faith, showing that even the most sincere questions can lead to the church's most severe punishment. This wasn't just about an academic debate. It was about the church's control over its historical narrative. Next, let's talk about Kate Kelly. Kate was a lifelong Mormon and a human rights lawyer. In 2013, she co-founded a group called Ordain Women. Their goal was simple: to advocate for gender equality within the LDS Church, including the ordination of women to the priesthood, a role exclusively held by men. They weren't aggressive or disrespectful. They organized peaceful actions, like requesting entry to the all-male priesthood session of General Conference. They wrote letters and encouraged dialogue. But their public advocacy was seen as a direct challenge to the church's leadership and its patriarchal structure. The church's response was swift and decisive. In 2014, Kate Kelly was excommunicated in absentia. Her local leaders cited her for conduct contrary to the laws and order of the church, effectively silencing one of the most prominent voices calling for gender equality. Her case sent a clear message to other Mormon feminists: stay quiet or you're next. It raised profound questions about women's roles and voices within the faith, and whether there's any room for progressive advocacy in modern Mormonism. Then there's the heart-wrenching case of Sam Young. Sam was a bishop, a respected local leader. He became deeply troubled by the church's practice of allowing bishops to conduct one-on-one, closed-door interviews with youth. During these interviews, children and teenagers were sometimes asked sexually explicit questions about their behavior and worthiness. Sam heard numerous stories of the shame, trauma, and abuse that resulted from this practice. He believed it created a dangerous situation and put children at risk. He tried to work within the system, appealing to local leaders and then to the highest levels of church authority. He gathered thousands of stories from victims. When his pleas were ignored, he took a more public stand. He launched a petition, held rallies, and even went on a 23-day hunger strike near the church's headquarters in Salt Lake City to bring attention to his campaign: protect LDS children. The church's response? They excommunicated him. A former bishop who dedicated himself to protecting children was cast out for publicly challenging a church policy he saw as harmful. His story shocked many members and non-members alike, exposing a deep conflict between the church's public image as a family-focused institution and its handling of internal dissent, even when it concerns the safety of its most vulnerable members. Our final case is Bill Reel. Like Sam Young, Bill was also a former bishop. He was a dedicated member who hosted a popular podcast called Mormon Discussion. His goal was to create a space for nuanced conversations about the complexities of Mormon history, doctrine, and culture. He often explored topics that the official church curriculum glosses over, but he did so from a believer's perspective, trying to help people navigate their faith crises. However, as he continued his research and podcasting, he became more critical of the church's lack of transparency and what he saw as deceptive practices from its top leadership. He called out inconsistencies in church history and criticized leaders for not being forthcoming with members. For the church, this crossed a line. His public criticism, broadcast to a wide audience, was deemed apostasy. Despite his long service and his initial intent to help people stay in the church, Bill Reel was excommunicated in 2018. His case demonstrates that you don't even have to leave the faith to be pushed out. Simply providing a platform for open, critical discussion about leadership can be enough to get you excommunicated. So, how does the church find and discipline these people? You might think it's just local leaders noticing a problem, but there's a much more systematic, and some would say sinister, process at play. The formal proceeding is called a membership council. For decades, it was known as a disciplinary council, but the name was changed in 2022 to sound less punitive. Leaders often frame it as a court of love, an opportunity for the member to repent and return to the fold. However, for those who go through it, it often feels like an ecclesiastical trial where the verdict is predetermined. They face a panel of local male leaders who act as both prosecutors and jury. They can be questioned on their beliefs, their private conversations, and their public statements. But here's the sudden twist you probably didn't see coming. How does the church's top leadership, all the way in Salt Lake City, know what a regular member in Europe or a podcaster in a small town is saying online? The answer lies with a secretive committee. It's called the Strengthening Church Members Committee, or the SCMC. This is essentially the church's internal surveillance department. Formed in the 1980s, its job is to monitor members worldwide who are seen as critical of the church. They track blogs, social media posts, podcasts, and online forums. When they identify what they consider apostasy or a threat to the church, they compile a file and send it down the chain of command to the member's local bishop and stake president, often with instructions to take action. So, when people like Kate Kelly or Bill Reel were disciplined, it wasn't just a local matter. It was very likely initiated by this top secret committee watching their every move online. This revelation changes everything. It shows a coordinated, top-down effort to police the thoughts and expressions of members, using a secretive committee to enforce ideological purity. This raises some serious questions for any faith community. Have you ever felt that asking difficult questions was discouraged in your own community, religious or otherwise? Let us know your experience in the comments. And what do you think about this? Should a church have the right to monitor its members' private social media to enforce doctrinal compliance? Share your thoughts below. The impact of excommunication goes far beyond just losing your church membership. For a lifelong Mormon, it means social and familial death. Families are torn apart. In a religion that preaches families can be together forever, excommunication severs those celestial ties. Parents are told they won't be with their excommunicated children in the afterlife. You lose your community, your social circle, and often your entire support system. It is a tool of immense power designed to ensure silence and compliance. The stories of Jeremy, Kate, Sam, and Bill are not just isolated incidents. They are examples of a system designed to protect the institution, sometimes at the expense of its own members' integrity, safety, and conscience. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. These stories are a crucial part of understanding modern Mormonism and the broader dynamics of faith, power, and control. If you want to keep exploring these hidden histories, make sure you subscribe to the Mormon Deep Dive channel. We post new videos daily. And for our next video, what topic should we tackle? The church's finances? The temple ceremonies? Let us know in the comments. Thanks for watching.